I just realized that you're walking. So you're standing right now?
I'm standing. Yes. Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I can bring more energy to these calls.
Okay, are you gonna jump?
Yeah. Start jumping,
Good.
start
Yeah.
dancing.
I'm kidding.
We should have some music background at
We
the beginning
should.
of the calls.
The
Yeah.
best I could do is Paw Patrol.
We should start these calls like our town halls and just
Yeah.
start with high energy. Yeah.
That would be cool.
Okay, we're a couple minutes in. Let's get started and then yeah, whoever else joins us. Hello everyone. Happy New Year. First call of the year for us here, first Atlas call. Excited to see everyone again. I hope you all had beautiful time to rest, recharge, family time, friends time, festivities, feasting, eating, getting fat, all the above. Yes, I imagine. Happy New Year's, everyone. I'm excited to get back into this year here. Yeah, I'd love to just kind of kick it off with a couple things. I want to check in, right? I love that Jade kind of started off the call asking what resolutions already and what everyone's focusing on, or asking me what I'm focusing on this year. And I want to toss that question back to you guys, right? Slightly different. Um, but I'm similar to like Nat. I stopped setting resolutions a long time ago. I believe in, very clear goals, a very clear actionable plan, and I believe in centralizing things and focusing on a couple themes, all right, a couple themes for how I would like to show up this year. All right, and I find those themes to be more powerful and relevant than setting resolutions that we will forget by give it 2 weeks from now. Right. So, I want to throw this question to you guys. If maybe some of you have already set a theme for yourself, right? Maybe some of you haven't. Right. And so the question for you is, what's your theme for 2026? Right? In 1 to 3 words or a quick phrase, do not send a novel, right? You will not remember what your theme is if it has to be explained in a novel. Right? 1 to 3 words, a short phrase. What's your theme for how you want to show up this year? Productive in less time, refresh, alignment, better work-life balance. Oh, you rolled out your treadmill this morning. Amazing. 20 kilometers already. Oh, we got to kick off that step challenge again. Yeah. Kendra says be my best. Russ says upgrade myself. Yeah, be present and prompt. Okay. Be the best version of myself. Love it. Love it. There's a cash prize. I can see that. I can definitely see that. Christine says improve every day. Amazing. Yeah, I want you guys to really just anchor into that, right? Let's not let this just be words. Words is powerful, right? The words that we choose to use are powerful, right? It sets the container for our actions and our behaviors, right? But words alone is not enough. I want you guys to really sit with everything you've shared. Whatever you shared were your themes. Architect, not firefighter. I love that, right? I want you to check in your body. When you repeat these words in your mind, and I invite you to just repeat them, whatever it is, your theme, just repeat it a few times, slowly, taking deep breaths. This theme that you are choosing, these words you are choosing to describe the theme of how you want to show up this year. How do they feel in your body? What does it feel like to embody this theme day in, day out? every breath you take. What does it feel like if we reach the end of the year, December 31st, 2026, and I promise you it's going to fly by real quick. All right, you're going to snap 2 times, and then it's going to be mid-year, snap 4 times, and then we're celebrating 2026 all over again. It's going to fly by fast. And so by the end of this year, when you can pop that bottle of champagne and be like, I embodied fully a theme that I have set for myself. What does that feel like in your body? What do you notice? Do you notice a sense of expansion? Do you notice an excitement? Do you notice a sense of fulfillment? What's that feeling that comes up for you? Maybe it's a little bit of restriction. Maybe it's, oh, I set this theme, but I'm a little scared. I'm a little worried. There's something in the way that's keeping me from fully embodying this theme. And this is important. We're going to keep coming back and we're going to keep holding all of you accountable to these themes. And it's going to be especially important this year because in today's call, I want to talk about, and I've already talked about this, so you've heard me mention multiple times already, last year, right? The importance of um, up leveling ourselves, right? All of you as EAs, some of you who are not EAs in your current role here at Atlas, this is still applicable, right? But we are stepping into what I believe is going to be the most pivotal year of your career. And I'll say this lightly, right? This is going to be the most pivotal, right? Whether that's transformational or whether that's crushing, right? It is up to you. You get to decide that, but I believe this year is going to be a very, very, very important year for every single one of you. Whether you're an EA, whether you are in whatever role you're at here at Atlas. Why? Because, well, obviously you guys already know, right? We have already stepped into the age of AI. It's no longer, we are going to be stepping into the age of AI. We're already there, right? We're already there. I don't know if we're in the middle of it or how far we're in it or whatever it is. We've already stepped into this age of AI. Things are shifting way faster than we can keep on top of, right? Now, this can create fear and worry for you, or it can create excitement. And I'm hoping it's the latter because this is probably one of the best opportunities you have in the last few decades. Why? Because the gap that is going to take to go from an administrative role to a strategic role has shortened. Never in the history of the internet and online work, right? The last most biggest opportunity that we had was the day that the internet became a thing. Some of you may have been or may not have been born yet at that time. Right? But, for some of us who are a little on the older side here, we know how transformational and how big that event was in the world, right? Or in the history of humanity, right? Because it created the opportunity for us to create a career path that did not require us to be in person. Remote work became possible. Making making a living from doing work online became possible. Now that was the last biggest pivotal, opportunity, right, in remote work. This year, a lot of last year, but mostly this year is the second biggest, right? Because not only did it create the opportunity for, someone to earn a living online, but it closed the ability to up-level your skill gap, right? You can go from a very traditional admin role to a strategic role with a very short amount of time because of the amount of resources and tools that you now have with AI. This is exciting. right? For some, it's scary, right? And those are probably the ones that are like worried that, oh, AI is taking over my role, right? And I have mentioned over and over and over again, all right, Zion has mentioned it. You probably heard it from many others, but AI is not taking your role, right? AI, your job is not going anywhere. However, the expectations of your role is changing, right? And the opportunity for you to progress in your role is amazing right now, right? I don't know where everyone's at in their journey with AI right now, but the things that you can do, right? I'm seeing people who have never coded before build on full-on apps now overnight, over a weekend, right? That used to take going to school, getting, getting a degree, spending years learning to code before you get an internship at a product company, and then working your way into becoming a dev, and then working your way into becoming a senior dev. And then now I'm seeing people who have no background in product build on a full app over a weekend just by putting their head down, learning how to work with AI. Right? And I want to take that example and apply that here. This is the same for all of you guys. You can literally step from being an administrative EA, an administrative EA, right? A virtual assistant who, handles inbox, calendar, right? Task, project management. Going from that to being a full-on strategic partner, right? An ops manager, a chief of staff, whatever. I don't care much about the role title. I like to focus on the outcomes and the responsibilities you carry in your role, right? The outputs you're able to create, the value you're able to create. You can replace the title with whatever fancy titles you want to use there, right? But you can go from a traditional EA to being a strategic partner pretty much in a very short amount of time, right? And this is exciting because I want all of you guys to be able to start to make that shift too, right? And that's why this year Atlas is focusing way more into our trainings, our tools, our resources, right? Because your job's not going anywhere. You're still going to be here. People are still looking, and we're seeing this. Right now, we have more clients than we have EAs to match. It's a little frustrating for our team, actually. All right, there are more clients coming to us, knocking on our door and being like, I need an EA right now, than we have rockstar EAs to match to them, right? So the demand is still there. And what that tells me is that people are still looking for an EA. That means your job is not going anywhere, right? If there was any inkling of fear that you might have had that you were going to lose your job to AI, I just want that eradicated, at least this year, right? However, caveat here is what it's required, right? Is that you understand how your role is shifting. Understand that the expectations of your role is shifting. So yes, we're seeing way more clients knocking on our door wanting EAs, and we're also seeing all these clients that are coming, their expectations for this role has gone way up. They want way more out of this role, right? It's no longer what it used to be, where it's like, hey, let us pair you with a rock star, values aligned person who's going to manage your inbox calendar tasks. They want more. They're like, can this person work with AI? Can this person do this? Can it do that? Can they do this? Right? And so I can't emphasize enough, your job's not going anywhere. However, the expectations of your role is changing. And so therefore the EAs who are future ready, the ones who are going to thrive in the next 5 years, right? They're the ones that are putting in the work to become two things. One, strategic partners to their executives. Two, operators of AI. So if you focus more of your time and your energy into shifting and becoming one or both of these things, promise you your career is not going anywhere. You choose not to. If you choose the path, and I can't pick for you, I have the desire to help you become both of these, right? Atlas has the desire, and that's why we're putting the time to creating the training and the resources to help you become these two things, strategic partners to your executives and operators of AI. But if you choose not to, if you still want to, I'm going to stick to just, being the traditional EA, that's fine too. But just know that everything I just shared does not apply. Right? Because expectations are going up. AI is taking a lot of traditional responsibilities and tasks off your plate already, right? And so this is such an incredible year for all of you because I want all of you guys to shift. I want all of you guys to ex to up level and to become one or both of strategic partners and operators of AI. Right. And so my commitment and our team's commitment is to provide you guys the resources, the process, and the tools and the training for that to happen. Right. But we can't choose for you guys. You'll have to choose. Okay. On that note, if you're to just reflect honestly with yourself right now, right? It's not about comparing or anything. Honestly checking in with yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. How future ready do you feel you are? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being I am future ready. I feel like right now I am being a strategic partner to my executive and I am a badass at using AI. And I'm constantly learning and upgrading how I'm how I'm using AI. All right. Again, this is not about comparing numbers. This is just an honest self-reflection, right, of where you're at right now, where you feel you're at right now. How much of a future ready EA do you feel you are right now? Awesome. See some nines, 9.825. Love that. 9, 9, 7, 7, 7, 8, 6. Okay, cool. Wherever you're at, how do we close that gap between where you're at and 10? That's where we want to focus on, right? We don't want to focus on, okay, what's my number? Oh, everyone else is a higher number or a lower number. No, drop all that. Those are stories, right? This is not the place for that. This is where am I at right now? And what's the gap between where I'm at right now and where I want to be, which is, I believe, a 10. Right? I believe all of you want to be on a scale of 10 to 10, that you are future ready, right? You're both strategic partners to your executives and you're badass operators of AI. All right. And so, as I said, our goal to equip you with everything you need to get there. Right. And so with that, today I want to share a couple things. All right. Um, this this whole rise in expectations is just not something I'm noticing and observing. It's something I'm noticing and observing within myself as well, right? As you guys all know, I shifted roles this past year, right? Stepping into this new role, going from being just an operator to being a visionary, being an owner, right? And really taking ownership of the growth and the vision of this company required me to shift how I show my role, the expectations of my role. And with that, I've noticed that my own expectations of my EA, Lamia on the call, has shifted as well, right? And so I'm sharing this because it's not just things that we're hearing and seeing from our clients, but I am feeling this as well of like, okay, I need way more than just an EA who's going to take tasks off my plate and do tasks for me and manage my inbox, right? What I'm needing is someone who can support me in solving the biggest issues that I have, right? An example of this that I want to share, right? Very recent, right? So going into December, as we rounded off the year, I was looking at, okay, well, now that I'm stepping into this new role now, right? What are the biggest problems that I need to solve for, right? And what are the underlying problems that's keeping me from being able to focus on the biggest problems? All right. And I noticed there was a couple things. There was two things that really stuck out, two problems that I felt I needed to solve for and shift here in the company. All right. First one is I need to stop being the decision bottleneck. This was fine in my previous role. I was the COO. It was fine that every decision had to escalate back, up to me. All right. It was my responsibility as COO to unbottleneck people, make decisions, and everyone was coming to me for things. What do we do here? What do we do about this situation? Should we do this or should we do that? All right. These were all like constant decisions from every single department that was coming to me. And that's fine in my previous role. However, now that I'm stepping into this CEO role, I can't get bottlenecked, or I can't let the team be bottlenecked by me because everyone needs me to make a decision for them. So that was problem number one that I needed to solve for, right? That came with my shift in my role, which I believe many of your executives are probably feeling the same. They might not be shifting from, the COO to the CEO role, but in the role that they're at right now, I'm willing to bet many of them also feel something similar in the sense that they are the decision bottleneck, right? The team comes to them for everything, right? Which takes time and energy away from me or them being able to focus on the most important things that's actually going to grow the company, right? That's the first thing. Second thing was I needed to create a winnable game for everyone in the company. I needed to make sure that everyone was clear on what winning looks like in their role and laddering that up so that when they're winning, the company's also winning. That's now my responsibility as the CEO, right? And therefore also the responsibility of many of your executives, right? And so I'm sharing my own personal experience and story here so you guys can start to understand what is it that your executive needs because you can't be a strategic partner to your executive if you don't understand what's the problem they're trying to solve, right? The point of being a strategic partner is understanding, oh, this is the problem they're trying to solve. How do I help them? In what ways can I support them so that they can solve these problems? Right. And so I realized these were the two problems that I really needed to solve for. Right. And how I solved that was, a few different things, but one of it was putting together a very clear strategic plan for the company. We went right into January with a very clear plan that explained very clearly, where we're at, right? What we stand for, where are we going, what's in the way of that, how are we going to get there, so that everyone in the company understood what the priorities were, but also had the context they needed to be able to make decisions in their own roles so that I wouldn't be the decision bottleneck, right? And so I created a whole strategic plan. I rolled it out with the company, right? I did other things like I created a whole bonus plan, right? A compensation and bonus plan, right? For everyone in the company, right? So that they're clear on what a winnable game looks like for them. All right, and I share this with you guys because I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna drive things home to the main point here was that all of that was easy for me to be able to do because of the foundations of what my EA did, what Lamia did to help me get here, right? So before December, right, in Q4 last quarter, some of the things that she was working on, right, that really helped me accelerate my ability to solve these two problems, solve for these two problems by creating the strategic plan, creating a very clear, org chart, areas, responsibility chart, bonus plan, all of this thing, right, was because she helped me draft out my North Star. All right, and I know I shared and I talked about this in previous calls already, but I want to keep coming back to this, all right, because my belief is many of your executives also are struggling with similar challenges that I'm dealing with as well, right? And so I want to share the behind the scenes of how me and Lamia are handling things so that you guys can see conceptually, right? And practically what it looks like to be a strategic partner. Because I keep throwing this word out, we keep throwing this word out. Everyone wants to be a strategic partner, but what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like in action, right? And so that's what I kind of want to outline here so that you guys are all clear on that. All right. So what allowed me to do all this and solve these problems was allow me to spend time to extract the context that she needed to start to put together very clear North Star documents. Right. So that is super clear, clearly outlined, clearly documented, right? And built the second brain around that. Right. And you guys know I've been talking about the second brain. We're rolling out this app right now as well. Right. And so you guys are going to start to get access to it. Right. And what the second brain is it's the knowledge base. It allows us to put all of the important context within the company into that knowledge base so that you can then leverage that. Right. And what I mean by leverage it is two things. One, whenever the team needs context on anything to be able to make a decision without coming to me, they will have the context for that. Second thing is leveraging AI, right? With because I had the North Star, I was able to use AI, right, to have a debate and stress test my ideas and start to really map out very clearly both the strategic plan as well as creating compensation packages for everyone in the company. I couldn't have done that without AI. I mean, I could, but it'd take way more work. But I was able to do that thanks to one, having that second brain in the North Star, and then two, being able to leverage, knowing how to leverage AI. Right. And so this is an example of what it looks like to be a strategic partner. Right. Like it's not your responsibility to go and create the strategic plan or compensation packages and stuff for your executives team. That's your executive's responsibility. Right, that's their job, that's their role. However, you want to look at what can I do as an EA to make it easier and faster for my executive to fulfill on their responsibilities. Right, and that's what it means to be a strategic partner. Okay. I'm going to pause here. Any questions so far? Does this all make sense to you guys? Yeah? I see some thumbs up. Okay, amazing. Cool. Well, let's dive into some of the more practical things so that you guys, can. That seems super serious. I am very, very passionate about this in the sense that I really want you guys to win this year, right? And so if that's coming off as seriousness, know that it's coming off from a place of a lot of love and a lot of care, right? I will not stand it if we went through another year and you guys are still just traditional EAs. I will have failed my job if that's the case. And so, yes, I am very serious today. If you guys haven't noticed, right? And I really do mean it. Right? This is going to be the most important year of your guys' career, right? If you don't believe me now, you will believe me by the end of the year, right? Cool. Let's dive into some of these things here, right? I think some of you guys have already seen it, but I want to dive behind the scenes of how we got to where I was able to create the strategic plan, areas of responsibility chart, compensation bonus plan, right? There was a foundational layer, right, which I mentioned, right, that Lamia and I had to put together first, which was making sure we're clear on the North Star, making sure that there's a second brain, that it's all in there, then everything else becomes a lot easier. So there's a couple different ways to do this. First of all, we want to start with, of course, building the North Star, right? And as some of you guys may have already seen, we built a whole playbook here for you guys, right? We have a whole playbook that walks through step by step, right? And it's comprehensive and it's going to take a bit of work here, right? But all of our playbooks follow the 10-80-10 partnership model, right? And so the 10% is what you need to be able to extract from your executive so that you can successfully do the 80% of the implementation of this playbook. And then reviewing things is the final 10%. Reviewing, refining, finalizing, and getting it into the second brain, right? Second brain is critical here. You need to build that because that's the foundational layer. That's the system that makes it easier for executive to be able to do some of their executive responsibilities, like creating a strategic plan, creating compensations, creating job descriptions and compensation packages for new hires that they need to make. Right? That's one of the things I'm looking at right now is I need, there are a few key hires that I need to make in this company to scale the company. That's my job to get clear on who it is that we need to hire and bring in. Right? Now, I can go and sit here and try to work from scratch, or I have the second brain, which has all the context of the company in there already. Then it makes it really easy to use that second brain in AI to start creating the things that I need to do to fulfill my responsibility. All right, so I hope like I know I'm like kind of beating a dead horse here. All right, but I'm just gonna keep reiterating this until you guys implement it. All right, because until you guys implement it, you guys are not yet truly embodying full ownership of being a strategic partner, right, to your executives and or being an operator of AI, right? So we have this playbook, two ways that you can build out your North Star. I'm gonna move through this a little bit more quicker here. Right? First way is you take the manual route, right? Is you go in here and you follow this playbook, right? And in, each of these here, we give you the exact prompts and questions that you want to bring to your executive to extract the context you need to draft out each component of the North Star, right? And I'm not going to go into each one because I've already did a previous call on North Star, and so you guys should already have some level of understanding. If you haven't, make sure you go catch that call, right? But to actually draft out the mission, the core values, the vision of the company, right? The strategic plan and the goals, right? You want to make sure all of these are clearly documented and lives in your North Star, you and your executives North Star. So the manual way to do it is you take these questions and prompts that we've given you and you go and you share it with your executive and you extract that. You pull that from them like pulling teeth. Right? You don't stop until you get everything you need to draft their North Star for your executive, right? And we give you the step by step here. Now, that's approach number one. Approach number two, you want to start using AI for it, right? Well, you can start using our Second Brain app, right? And I'll explain in a second here how you can start to get access to all of these, right? But when you log into the app, right? What this app allows you to do is start to manage the knowledge base, right? So all these North Star documents that you create, all the different contexts that you're going to gather from your executive, right? You create them in here, right? And so as you can see, the strategy is here, right? The mission is extracted, documented, and lives in here. Right? Our org chart lives in here. Our strategic plan, once it's fully outlined, it's all here now. Mission, values, vision, all right? The strategy for this year, all the way down to the goals, all this very relevant context and important context because it's all context that allows the team to be able to align their priorities and decisions so they don't have to keep coming to me and being like, oh, should we do this or should we do that? Pull the context, look at the strategic plan. Does it align with the strategic plan? If it does, great, do it. If it doesn't align, that's a no-brainer. It's a no. All right. And so this is, my responsibility, provide clarity and context. The team's responsibility is take that clarity and context and go and move, execute, move quickly, move fast, move swiftly, move well. Right. So that we move towards our goals. All right. Your responsibility as the EA and strategic partner is to help bridge that. It's to take the clarity and the context to get it into the second brain so that the team can easily, quickly access all of this, but also so your executive can quickly use this for, other things. All right. But that building that bridge between the team and your executive is how you step away from being a traditional EEA and step more into a strategic partner. I mean, essentially, that's the chief of staff role, if you guys haven't noticed, right? If you look at what it means to be a chief of staff, that's exactly what that is, right? So we have this knowledge base here. And so again, two approaches. One, follow the playbook, implement it manually, right? Once you gather the context and you've created the documents as instructed in the playbooks, now you can just upload it into here, right? You go into here, create a new document, same way Google Docs works. You go in here and you add it in here and you save it. All right. Once you save it, you can also add tags so that we call them categories here. All right. You can add different categories so you can bucket them and organize them better. Right. Now, once you have all the context in here, this is where things get juicy. Now we get to start to leverage and use the smart brain. I'm sorry, this is the second training call of today already, and my words are getting mumbled. The second brain, right? You can start using it with AI, right? And so there's two ways to do it. One, you go into a chat, and just like the same way you would chat with ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, whatever it is you do, you chat in here, right? Whatever it is you're trying to achieve, right? You work with AI, but the benefit of using our app here is you can now go and you can select specific documents within your knowledge base, right? Then AI will be able to just pull all the context from that so it can be able to create more relevant output for you, right? So let's say I want to do something um, and I wanted to add in my strategic plan. Then I can just go in here, add strategic plan, and ask it to do anything, right? Another cool feature in here, and this is the second approach that I was gonna mention, right? Around building the North Star. If you don't, you can either do it manually, following the playbook, or you can just use this smart prompt, right? We're gonna be building a lot more of different smart prompts that's going to make it easier for you to start to create the documents you need so that you can add them into the knowledge base, right? And you can follow this prompt here. It's going to guide you through extracting everything right? To be able to create that North Star, and then it'll give you the option to be able to just create that document and automatically create the document and add it into your knowledge base for you, right? And I'll show you, I'm not going to run through it, but I'll just show you a couple examples, right? So when you hit that smart prompt for a North Star, right, it's going to first ask you, are you the executive building your own North Star, or are you're the EA doing it, right? Depending on who you are, it's going to structure the instructions and the workflow differently, right? And so for this one, I use I'm the executive, right? Then it just does this for me. It's going to ask me the same questions, right? In the playbooks, it's just going to ask those questions, and then as the executive, I can go in and answer the questions, and it'll extract the context. Now, if you're an EA, right, you can also do the same. Just let the prompt know that you are the EA. Then it's going to give you the instructions, right? It's going to give you a couple different approaches to see what's your approach. Maybe you have existing voice notes already from your executive that you can then just transcribe and upload into here, and you can have the AI, draft the North Star document for you. Lots of different, approaches and ways to work with it here, right? And obviously, we're going to keep refining this. So feedback is going to be really important once you guys get into the app and you're using it, right? But yeah, so those are the kind of two main approaches or main ways to build the North Star right now. All right, again, manually follow the playbook, or two, using the North Star prompt here in the second brain, right? Once you create them, you get the knowledge base, you get it into the knowledge base, right? You can turn the North Star into a strategic and 2026 strategic plan as well. And then with this, there's a lot of different use cases and a lot of different things that either you or your executive can then do. Right. And I want to cover a couple of them today. But before that, let me just pause and um, check in. Any questions or anything so far about the second brain and how to create your executive's North Star? Yeah. See you later, Jed. Nope. I'll take that as a no, no questions. When will we have access to it? Great, the most important question. Um, so what we're doing right now, we're still in what we call beta mode, right? And so we're still in testing the app. What we are looking for is actually 10 to 15 EAs to join a test sprint with us, right? And so we're going to give early access here to, the 10 to 15 EAs who raise their hand and sign up for this, right? And we call it a test sprint because there's going to be very clear, instructions on like, we need you to do this by then, right? And give us feedback on it by then, right? It's a very clear, think of it like a project plan, right? Why? Because the faster we can get feedback on the app, the quicker we can actually develop and take the app to the next stage, right? And by next stage, I mean adding in more smart prompts, refining the chat so that's even better, right? Adding in other, integrations and other features that the app can do, right? But before we start building things, we want to make sure that we're getting feedback from actual users, right? And so we're looking for 10 to 15 EAs to join us for it's probably going to be around a 4 to 6 a week test sprint. There'll be very clear instructions and criterias on what we're looking for, right? And of course, I know you guys have a lot on your plate and everything already, right? And so for those that complete the test sprint, right, and meet the success criterias there, right, there will be a bonus because we do want to make sure that you guys are rewarded for the time that you guys are putting in and the effort, the time and energy you guys are putting in to help us with building out this app. All right. Of course, this app is designed and built to make your guys' job easier and to help you transition into being, more of a strategic partner and operator of AI. However, we want to make sure you guys are still just rewarded for the time that you're putting into this. All right. And so we will, Russ, how are we taking signups for this?
Um, you can message me. No, actually, what would be best? You can message me here before the call ends. And I'll take note and reach out to you guys after the call. Does that work?
Sure. Yeah. As long as you capture it. Yep. So yeah, if you guys if you're a yes for this, right? it's the extent of the work here is really just everything I just explained, right? So we'll have like a set of, all right, these are some of the documents that you guys need to start adding into this because we want to test a couple different things. We want to test getting documents into this, usage of the chat, and usage of the smart templates, right? Again, we'll map out very clearly what's required for you to complete the test sprint, right? And this isn't one more thing you guys need to do. This is things you guys technically should already be doing in your roles here, right? So it'll just double down, you showing up in your role, but also supporting us with the test sprint, right? So if that's you, you want to sign up for it, just drop a yes or whatever in the chat here, and then Russ can keep track of that, and she'll reach out to you. And yeah, we're looking to get started with that pretty quickly here, like this week. All right. And so yeah, we're looking for just 10 to 15. We will cap it. All right. So there isn't there's limited space here. All right. Because too many people, too much feedback, then things just get a little too overwhelming. And so we want to keep it to just 10 to 15. All right. So drop it in chat there or let Russ know directly. You can reach out to her. If you don't know how to reach out to her, then just let the AMs know, your account managers know. All right. By end of today, right? So that we can get that first, so we can get the group going, right? And then Russ and the team will give you guys more clear instructions on what it is we're looking to test, what kind of feedback we need from you guys, right? And if you guys complete the test sprint and meet all the criteria and everything, there will be a nice bonus reward for you guys there, right? Cool. So, let's see, the time left. I want to dive into just a couple different use cases. So now that you guys understand, like, okay, this is how the app works. This is what we're building here. I want to talk about let's talk about the advantages, the use cases of this, right? What would you guys use? What would you use this for? What would your executive use this app and this second brain for? So you can really start to conceptualize the benefits, right, of having a second brain. All right, so a couple use cases here, and huge thank you to Lamia for putting this together. Right, and so she's put together kind of three very clear, concrete use cases that you guys can start to use the second brain for once, of course, you have the context in there. First one is for hiring. Right, this is something many of your executives, it's part of your executive's role, right? They're constantly going to be looking at who do I need to hire next, all right? And anytime they're thinking, who do I need to hire next? Boom, there's an opportunity for you to step in and be a strategic partner. Right, now you can leave them to go and figure it out or delegate that to someone else on their team, or you can jump in and shine. Right? How you do that is, okay, well, you know that if they need to hire someone, they need supporting assets, right? They need to have clarity on what's the role they're hiring, right? What does success look like for the role, right? They need to have all that defined. They need to have a very clear job description, an exciting job description. All right, a boring generic one from ChatGPT is not going to do, right? They need a job description that's aligned with your company's mission, values, the vision, right? That the job description needs to sell the role to whoever's going to be applying for it, right? And so this is where the second brain comes in because it already has all the context. It knows what the mission is, the values, the vision. It knows what the strategic plan and the goals are, right? And if you get to the point where you get your org chart in here as well, then it knows everyone's roles and jobs, roles already, right? And KPIs already. Then it's going to be able to take all that context, right? And and start to build out all the supporting assets for the hire that your executive is looking to make. So here's an example outcome or output of the second brain because it had all of Atlas's vision, values, mission, and everything there already, right? And this is the prompt that Lamia used. And let's look at the output here together so you guys can see, what's possible here. All right, so the example here that she put together is for, an account manager, right? And so, it talks about the purpose of the account manager. It aligns to, some of the big bets and some of the strategic plays that Atlas is focusing on this year. It ties in the core values, right? It gets super clear on the measurable outcomes of the role from, what the outcome is, what the KPIs are. All of this is clearly defined and aligned with what's already existing within the Atlas team company, right? takes all this, breaks it down to key responsibilities. What does this role look like? All right, what does winning look like in this role? All right. Oh, check this out. And then it suggests interview questions and an evaluation rubric, which makes it easier. So if your exec is the one that's doing the interviews and doing the hiring, well, here's a set of questions, right, that your executive can now ask in the interview, right? If your executive isn't the one, if it's someone else in the company, that's completely fine too. Now you can just give this to them and you'd be like, hey, here's the suggested interview questions, right? So a lot that's put together here, right? Red flags, behavior indicators to look for, right, during the hiring process. So all of this with one prompt. That was one prompt, right? It was, oops, sorry. That was just one prompt that Lamia used to generate that. Now imagine you can continue to work that to get whatever else you need, right? If you want to create a role scorecard, right? Or if you want to go a little further and be like, hey, create a compensation package for this role. Now you have that drafted, you go to your executive and be like, hey, I've already pre-drafted a potential compensation package for this role. Can you review them? Let me know if that aligns with what you're already thinking, right? And I'll tell you this, if you go to your executive with these things, immediately will they feel that you are being a strategic partner to them, right? And all of that was a couple prompts with AI. But the key, the most important thing is this only works if you have the context needed, right? And that's why we're building the second brain, is to make sure that you guys are building that pool of context so you guys can start to do high level tasks like this. Right now, without all the context, and you guys probably could have just Googled it, right? If this is the pre-AI age, you probably could have Googled it and look at market benchmarks, look at existing job descriptions, take that and tweak it and update that. But that would probably take you guys a couple weeks to be able to put this all together. Whereas right now, it can literally take you a couple hours to put together a full-on hiring package that you can give to your executive and be like, all right, this is ready to go. You can start recruitment for this role. Right? That's you. That's use case one. Another one, team structure, right? So designing the org chart, right? And so again, very simple prompt and I'll put here, right? So if you don't, if your company doesn't have an existing org chart, that's super clear, right? On by org chart, I mean like more like areas of responsibility chart. So not just, a fancy mind map with, everyone's roles, but you want to break that down to what's everyone's roles, what are their responsibilities? How does it tie back to their team and their company, the company achieving its goals, right? That's a true areas of responsibility and a true org chart, right? Not just a nice visual, mind map. You guys seen those org charts before, right? That's not strategic, right? That doesn't really tell much. The team can't leverage that. Whereas with a very clear breakdown of here's what everyone's roles, here's the key responsibilities, here's the key metrics, right? Here's who reports to who. Here's who to go to for certain questions so that not all the questions escalate back up to your executive. All right, these are all strategic tasks, right, that you can now support your executive with the right contexts and the right tools. Making sense? So, landing, you guys, are you guys seeing the possibilities of the things that you can do now? All right. This one's another one. All hands presentations, prepping presentations and stuff for your executive. All right. If you guys do company all hands or town halls and things like that, all right. Great thing is if you continue to keep adding and updating the context, all the context is here, you're going to be able to get really good at pre-drafting a lot of the presentation decks here for your executive. Right. So hopefully this is helping you guys see the vision of what's possible, right? The key here, right? I'm just going to land the plane here for all of you, right? Is when you have that clarity in the context and that's organized and managed well, which is what we're trying to achieve with the Second Brain app here, right? This allows you guys to elevate the level of tasks you're working on, the level of results you're able to create, right? It's no longer, hey, Zach, I cleaned your inbox up this week. Cool, great. That's amazing. That's good too, right? That's needed. I need that. I'm very thankful. Lamia cleans and manages my inbox. I have not been in my inbox for months now, right? And I'm very appreciative of that. However, that's the baseline expectation of a traditional EA. But now Lamia is coming to me with pre-drafted material and everything for my tasks, my responsibilities as an executive, which makes it way easier for me now to be able to do my job. That's a wow. That's okay. She is now stepping into strategic partner territory here. Right. And so we want to be able to create that for you guys so that all of you are doing that as well. All right. So, I'm going to wrap things up here. Again, we need 10 to 15 EAs. All right. There's no cost for you or your executive right now for this. All right. I think I saw a question where we need to get anything from the exec. Christine asked. Um, buy-in. Buy-in is what we need you guys to get from your executive right now. Right? You can let them know that, hey, Atlas is doing this right now. They've created an app called the Second Brain app. This is what it's meant to do, right? And I'm going to join their test sprint to help them design it. As part of the test sprint, I will be creating all of these Second Brain assets for you, right? And setting up this app. Once that's all set up, now once we set that all up, then we can go to your exec and be like, hey, here's the Second Brain app. Check it out, use it. We can't have your executives use it right now because without the context, the app is kind of useless. It's no different from a ChatGPT, right? So step one is we need you guys to get the documents in there, right? Which is why we're, urgently pushing for this test sprint, right? Is we want to validate that this app can do what we want it to do here, right? We've tested it internally already, but we need actual external users or you guys to be able to test it and to get the documents in there. Once you guys test it on the EA side, the app is good and it's working. Now we go to the client and we go like, look, I know you're using ChatGPT or Claude or anything, but check this out, right? You can do this with this app now. Is that all kind of clear? So I wanted to paint the vision of why we're doing this, where we're headed, so you guys are clear on that. All right. And so, yeah, 10 to 15 EAs, whoever's down, whoever's excited for that, and wants to support us with that, all right? Reach out to us, reach out to Russ. We'll get you into that group, all right? And then the last thing is we are launching a newsletter for you guys, all right? It's called the Future Ready EA newsletter. That'll be launching. The first issue will be going out on Monday. We're launching two newsletters, actually. One for you guys, one for your executives. All right. And the whole purpose of this newsletter is just to share more content, more training, more resources with all of you. All right. Realize that, I don't want to just wait for these calls. And I know sometimes you guys can't make every single call as well. All right. And so we just want to get more of these resources into your hands so that, again, this year, you guys can start to really make that shift into being strategic partners and operators of AI. Right. And so that's what the newsletter will be about. First one's going out on Monday. Keep an eye out for it. Make sure you catch all of them. Right. The one for your executive, the Atlas executive newsletter, that's also going out on Monday. Right. We need your help to get those newsletters to your executives because all of you guys manage their inbox, right? Because you guys manage their inbox, they're never going to see it. We can send them amazing things. We can send them, and the purpose of their newsletter is providing them the frameworks, the tools, different AI workflows, right, to help them step into being better leaders so that they can support you guys into stepping into your role as strategic partners, right? Because it's a relationship, it's two-sided, right? It takes two to tangle here. We can give you guys everything, but we also need to, in a way, train your executives as well, right? And so you can help us by making sure that those emails or those newsletters are getting to your executive, right? If you're using the inbox management system, obviously you're filtering them and most likely you're probably putting all newsletters into the bucket where no one looks at, right? So we just need to make sure it doesn't make it into that bucket, but it goes into the one where your executive will actually check, right? And or another great way is letting your executive know, hey, Atlas is, launching these two newsletters, one for me, one for you, right? They're going to be a lot of value. They're going to be really helpful, right? I'll make sure that I'm reading mine. For yours, I'm going to add a link to it every week in either the start of day report or the end of day report, right? And you can even transcribe and summarize the newsletters too and share that, right? And if it's a topic that's relevant and that's relevant to your executive, then they can check it out, right? Find whatever way. You guys are strategic partners here, but we need your help to get those newsletters to your executive. Otherwise, we're sharing all these amazing content and they're not going to see it. Do I have your guys' commitment to help us with that? Right? Remember, we're not doing this for us, we're doing this for you guys, right? Atlas gains very little by sharing all this content with the executives, right? We share it so that they can become better executives for you guys. We're doing this for you. So by helping us, you're helping yourself really at the end of the day. All right. That's all I got. Team, Nat, Namya, Russ, Jenny, anything else important? Any other announcements, reminders, anything else you guys want to share with the our beautiful team of EAs here?
I just also want to mention, likewise for the newsletter, we also need your help with the coaching call or masterclass calls that we organize for your execs. The purpose of these calls is similar in the sense that we want them to receive training to be introduced to systems that we would like to implement in partnership with you and with your exec. So since you're checking their inbox, we need your help to flag the coaching calls and the masterclass calls and make sure that they actually participate. Otherwise, they won't hear about it, they won't know about it. And, again, we are putting a lot of effort in preparing for these calls. But if they don't participate, it's a wasted effort. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Nat. I do have something I want to share. Like, I'm really excited about the resource library. Like, it's gonna be launched with the newsletters to all our EAs and clients. So you've got all the playbooks, all the past coaching calls, all Q&As. There are SOPs. It's endless, and we will continue building that. So just check it out. And if you have any resources that you would like to see there, just you can reach out to us or on Connect Team, or there's even a section where you can reach out there. So really excited to hear what you guys have to say about it, because it's really useful to me as an EA, and I'd love to see how you guys leverage that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that's a wrap. Let's let's crush it this year, guys. Let's get all of you becoming future ready EAs, strategic partners, masters of AI. All right, let's make that happen. Right. This is the most important year for your guys' career, and we want to make sure that we're putting everything we can to supporting you guys on that. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing
Thanks,
rest of your week.
everyone.
Thank you.